Imagine this with me. It's 2023, 2024, and you just bought your first house for $400,000. But a month after moving into your house, you look at the news and guess what? The housing market is completely crashing. How would this scenario look out? Well, this is actually one of the biggest nightmares people have when it comes to looking to buy a house. And this is a nightmare people have had for the past decade. So it's not anything new. But now more than ever, with the market being completely insane, this is a fear that is fresh in your brain. So let's role play the scenario out and see how that would work. And let's find out who would survive this. So first and foremost, in this situation, let's say your monthly payment is about $2,800. You make about $100,000 of gross annual income. So this means that you're grossing about $8,333. Since you have no debt, your lender was actually able to qualify you up to $3,750. So you feel pretty good about the fact that you bought under what you qualified for. However, your net income is approximately $6,249. So unfortunately, your monthly payment of $2,800 is 45% of your net income, almost half of what you're bringing home. You definitely stretch things out, but you have faith that you can just refinance when the interest rates get down, because part of the reason why this monthly payment is so high is because you're paying about 7 to 8% of interest, because that's what the current rates are. It's been 6 months later and things are starting to feel a little weird. You're getting by with your monthly payment, but it's really stretched out and you're like, man, I really wish I would have not done this. But you look at the interest rates and they're starting to drop. Like, okay, well, they're about like 7% now. You're like, okay, let's see if maybe I can hop in when it's like 6-ish, maybe 5-ish, right? So you're going to wait on that. But you're starting to notice this weird trend where these houses are going for sale in your neighborhood or in neighborhoods that you're driving around, but the signs are staying up longer. There's more agents doing open houses. There's more for sale signs everywhere. And it just seems like, well, interest rates are dropping slightly. Why is there more houses that are going on the market? You think about it, it concerns you, but you don't really, think about it too much because rates are dropping. So you're thinking surely there's going to be some kind of adjustment. Well, for those that are in the know, there's something clearly happening right now. When supply increases and demand drops, prices begin to slowly drop. But the thing that people don't know is it's not like a stock ticker. You're not going to start seeing prices just start kind of going down in value. How a price is determined is, well, quite frankly, what it sells for. When someone puts their house for sale on the market, that's just a number of what they think it's worth. So if someone in your neighborhood, say, puts their house for sale for about $420,000, which is $20,000 that will you more than you paid for, and it sits there for about a month or two, well, it's not really worth $420,000, is it? So you might see them start reducing it by $10,000, by $5,000, and eventually 2 to 3 months later, they finally settle on someone making an offer for $380,000 and they accept that offer. So now technically, if the house is very similar to yours, then your house is not worth that range. So now another neighbor will put their house for sale and they're like, well, my house is better than that one. I'm going to hold off on it. And they put theirs for sale for, I don't know, like 410,000. Well, you might see the same thing happen. And it might eventually like sell for 380, 390, or it might even go even lower than 380. So there's a lot of things that could happen. But in this specific example, we're going the worst case. People put their house on the market. It stays on the market for longer. Some of them just stay on the market permanently until inevitable happens, which we'll talk in a bit, or they eventually sell it to someone giving a completely lowball offer. Now, the interesting part is you've been seeing the houses go for sale, but now you know for sure that they're selling for a lot less. And this concerns you because you bought yourself a house for $400,000 and now houses that are similar to yours are selling between $300,000 to $350,000. So you're officially underwater. Now, last time this happened, which was around the 2007, 2008 range, like this was the absolute top here, or not the top, but rather before it started going down. And then like within a year, so about July 2008, prices didn't drop as much. It went from 256 to like 190. So it was like a 60,000. And I imagine people here were like, okay, well, it can't get any worse than here, right? Because if you go back to 2004, 2003, like it was around the same range around where it was before the increase. So they're like, surely it can't get worse than here, right? Well, the next year, brought some more interesting things, but which we'll talk about, which is not there. So you might for sure be seeing your price going down to where it should have been selling if it wasn't for this massive artificial increase. So for that, I mean, it's really hypothetical here. Like when did the artificial increase really start? Did it start here, or was it already like starting down here? Like, it's hard to tell. I made a video about this. You guys can go watch it, called How Overvalued Home Prices Are. Basically, I determined using data and like doing graphs and sheets and like that there's a certain amount that they should have been, and it should have been around 330,000 at where we currently were. There's a lot in the video, so I'm not going to go specifically into it, but if technically we're supposed to be around the 330 range right now, there's things are selling for 440, it wouldn't be surprising for houses to go drop to that amount, and it'll be a lot more than before because our prices are a lot higher. But you might see that first year drop down and be that correction that we've been waiting, which sucks for the people that bought because they're going to reduce that much in value, but it'll be great for people that have been waiting because hopefully it'll make things more affordable. Now here it kept dropping, right? So we don't know what will happen after the first year, but for sure, let's say the first year you live in it and that correction happens and your house is now worth, let's say 300,000 range, and you are technically really underwater now. But there might be two scenarios that happen here. One, you might start seeing more foreclosures pop up, but people just completely let their house go. And that's what happened last time, and that led for further price reductions to happen. But the reason why I don't think this will be the case is two reasons. One, people that bought in the last 2 to 3 years are holding on to their house for dear life. And the best part about it is they can afford the house. The house has a 2 to 4% interest rate, bought within a reasonable price range, so their monthly payment is just completely affordable. So I don't see like a lot of those people really go into foreclosure unless something tragic happens in their lives. So the people that are in danger of foreclosing are the people that only bought in the last year or so, which 2020 to 2022 bought a lot of buyers in the market. And from 2022 to 2023, there's been a huge decrease of demand of buyers. So there's been less people buying than there were the previous years. So I don't think that's enough to really go over and continue dropping. The second reason is banks are a lot more suited for this kind of stuff. They have loan modification programs. They have all kinds of programs that work with homeowners so they don't lose their house. They didn't have those programs back then. The short sale and how to short sell and all of that was really developed in the 2009, 2012 range. So they weren't really as popular beforehand. So I feel like banks will work a lot harder for people not to lose their house. But that's the more optimistic route. But there's a lot of people out there that say, nope, it's going to just crash and burn, right? And it's going to keep going down. So if that happens, then you'll start seeing more short sales and foreclosures start popping up, and that'll bring prices further down. So this is about a year later. This is when you're like, okay, I feel like I need to refinance now because I cannot afford the monthly payment. Maybe you're getting your hours cut at work. Maybe you're one of your spouse decided to say, you know what, I'm going to take the time off. I'm not going to be able to work, whatever. They got fired, who knows what. So it's like, okay, I cannot afford this house no more. All right, things are really tight. Let me see if I can refinance. Call your lender up. Guess what? You're underwater, so you can't refinance. What they forgot to tell you is that you need to have equity to refinance your house. And you can't just magically refinance if you don't have the ability to like, if your house is worth less than what you bought it for. So you either have to come up with the cash to make up the difference, or you have to simply wait. So that's why I'm telling people right now, if you're looking to buy, the interest rate that you're getting today, imagine that you're going to have for the next 30 years. If that idea scares you, then don't buy, because this idea of just marry the house, date the rate or whatever, it's very optimistic thinking, but it's just hard to predict what will happen, right? So in this situation, you cannot refinance. You have to just suck it up and figure out how to pay your house, while people around you are going to start either selling their house or foreclosing. Now we're definitely in hypothetical territory here, because if we went down the worst case scenario, there's going to be even more drops. So here, let's say the drops were to here, there's going to be even further drops down here. So if this house for 256 was eventually sold for 118,000, how much value did they lose? 46% value loss. Okay. So if you buy your house for 400,000, 46% of that is 184,000. So it would be worth 216,000. So worst case scenario, if it follows a very identical percentage loss, your house is now worth $216,000 approximately 2 years later, because the drop was 2 years here, and then it stayed flat for about 2 years here as well. So we can safely assume if the worst case happens, within 2 years, you'll hit your lowest point, and you'll stay at your lowest point for about 1 to 2 years. So you're completely underwater. your house is worth $216,000, but in the 2-3 years, you've been somehow maintaining it. There's two scenarios that might happen here. Something might happen in your work or just in your life that completely just derails everything. And now you can no longer afford your house. You have to let it go and you foreclose on your short sale. You become one of the many statistics of people that are foreclosing and whatnot. Or maybe you call your bank up and you work out a deal where you have reduced payments for a certain amount while you get on your feet or something along those lines. What route you think will be more realistic for people to take, that's up to you. I'll leave that up to your perspective and your philosophy. But that's basically the options you would have then. So let's say somehow you manage to hold on to your house. You start seeing definitely a lot of houses in your area selling for a lot cheaper. And every time you see a house for sale, you don't even want to look at the price. You're just like, I know I'm underwater. I don't want to think about it. And they're stuck on your monthly payment. You're holding on for dear life, hoping that the bank provides some kind of program where you can somehow reduce your rate or do some kind of low modification so you can hold on to your house for dear life. Now, typically around this time, this is where banks start releasing like down payment assistance programs and like first time home buyer programs and reduce the rates really attractive because they're trying to get people out buying again, right? Because there's be so much supply. This will probably affect other markets in a negative way. So they try to kind of encourage people to go buy again. So I don't know if this period, which will be years like 2 to 4, will last. Will just be a flat like here. Because as you can tell here, it kind of started poking up and stayed going up. I don't know. It's a different time. It's a different market, different government in place. But that's how it would look like for your house to completely crash. Now, like I said, years 3 to 4 could vary. It could very much be a flat here where just things are down and you're stuck in the bottom of the market, or the government can start releasing new programs, new bonds to get people to get home ownership up and going again, right? Well, once again, there's two routes here. We follow the same pattern as before, or there's just been so much hype about a market crash, like that so many people are going to be like, all right, let's go. It's time to go buy, right? Because there's a lot of people in the sidelines that didn't buy like previously, or there's almost like everybody could buy because there was like no income, no job, no asset loans, right? So there's some people that are going to be ready to buy. I really don't think this will last for 2 years. I think it'll be pretty quick, a bounce back up or very slow, gradual build up again. My question is, what are the housing doomers? What kind of content are they going to be making here? Like, is the housing market still going to be crashing? Are they still going to be like, the market's going to crash even more? Are they going to be like, oh gosh, they become like really positive and be like, the market's going to go back up, guys. We're going back. Anyways, let's move on. So, I mean, really, that's really it. We can speculate more about what will happen or what not happen, but like we experienced that. We fed our anxiety demons, right? We realized the worst case scenario. And I think the clear answer here for everybody is the only way you could survive all those ups and downs is if you bought without a stretched budget. You bought between 20 to 30% of your net income so you can continue to afford that monthly payment. Yes, it sucks that your house is worth a lot more than what houses are selling for, but you can afford your monthly payment. And I totally get how right now, the way things are, 20 to 30% of your income is just almost nearly impossible. Well, maybe that's your sign that you should be preparing right now instead of buying or going to look at new builds and stuff like that. Like right now I'm helping a lot of people with new builds. But anyways, if you would have bought within your means now, then you can survive any ups or downs, essentially. Those who are buying within 50 to 60% of your net income, which there are people doing that, they're going to put themselves in a very tight bind. And those who are buying like above 50% of their net income, which yes, there are people out there doing that, they're putting themselves in a really tight bind and setting themselves up for failure. But ultimately, the lesson here is the only time it really affects you is when you decide to sell. If you bought a house here, if you sold it here, you made a lot of money. That's only 15 years. 15 years is decent. But I think the biggest lesson here is obviously buying within your budget whenever or whatever is going on with the market, buy within your budget. But more importantly, get the gambling out of the housing market. Like, don't look at your house like a giant slot machine, just like, ka-ching. Oh, the odds of me winning a lot of money with this house if I sell in 5 to 10 years is great. Likewise, oh, the odds of me losing all this money in the next 4 or 5 years is terrible. Yes, it used to be a very good investment. I get it, and it's not anymore. I know it sucks. Trust me, it sucks. It was great to be the realtor that, hey, you bought a house and sold it 4 years later and you made $200,000. I think, you're welcome. Like, you give me a piece of that. I get it. It's not that safe no more. Your house is no longer a very solid investment. It is now a dangerous slot machine. So look at your house not as this beautiful investment that's going to save you out of your poverty. You look at it as somewhere you can live that you own. That's it. If you can't afford it, then go rent where you live. And that sucks, but you know, at least you'll be able to not put yourself in a terrible situation if you lose a lot of money. That's really it. I want you guys to snap out of it and like, okay, if the housing market crashes, it crashes. If you're buying today or in this month or next year, tell yourself, I'm buying this house knowing that I'm going to keep this rate for the long foreseeable future and knowing the housing market's going to crash. If your brain is okay with those two scenarios, then maybe you say, okay, maybe I should buy. Because for everyone else that's like looking at their house like a slot machine, it's your time to go, Papa. That's just not the right time. So, but anyways, I made a video similar to this next. You can go check that out now. For everyone else, let me know what your comments are below. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And no, bless you guys. Bless your hearts.